explain what we're doing here is I wrote something in about 2007 or 8 for people who are day traders. Now, a day trader, I was in a giant room full of day traders, and they literally just spread out like a giant classroom, and they get all pumped up, and they watch CNBC, they watch different news feeds, and they're then trying to decide, all right, what horse am I going to ride for the next X amount of time? And the low-level day traders are just looking at whatever's coming through the news feed to see what's there. But there's a lot of white noise because there's a lot of stuff happening. So there's been a lot of talk about black boxes in stock markets and how they're affecting the markets. And a black box, it looks for a whole bunch of metrics, and it says, I'm going to buy this stock when this trigger is hit. And I created something a little different. I created a gray box. And that's what we've done here. A gray box means that instead of it making a transaction, because you're not committed to buying any of these houses, a gray box just simply says, here's an enormous amount of data, literally changing every few minutes, as you're saying. And every day we get a fresh batch of it. And instead of you having to reanalyze everything through there, it's saying, here are some possible decisions you might want to make.
Welcome, everyone, to the Casandra Properties podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun today, and we're going to get into some interesting new things that you've heard me kind of breadcrumb about some new app and technology we've been working on. We're joined by two amazing guests. One, you guys are familiar with, Brian McGowan. He's an associate broker here at Casandra Properties, one of our most tenured brokers here at the company. He's a commercial, industrial, and investment specialist. Over the years, Brian has really grown his base and branched out into these kind of vertical integrations you hear us talk about. He's the owner of Staten Contracting now, doing modular building in Staten Island and New Jersey, and just an overall hell of a guy. And we're also joined by someone new to the audience, Joe Crescenzi. He's an independent programmer, a custom software developer, an absolutely brilliant, and I mean brilliant, guy to work with. I met Joe first through one of his platforms. He builds custom software from the ground up, and he has a platform called Vovio. And actually, I just learned 8 months ago, after 5 years, his last name is not Vovio. That's how indelibly tied it is to him. It's a software in the private sanitation field, and just another amazing guy and a programmer who gets it in every single way. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me back. Very excited.
Absolutely a pleasure. So this team is currently working on a really cool software that we're super excited about. But before we jump into the details of that, I think we should start with Joe because he's new to the show. You know, Joe, the audience likes to get a sense of who we are, who do we have on the show today, and you know, for someone who is so unbelievably tied and brilliant with this stuff, at what point in life did you know that this is where you wanted to operate?
I've actually had a computer since 1979.
Wow.
Many people had a computer then. And the funny part about it was, if you bought a computer in 1979, there weren't many choices, first of all. But there also was almost no software. There had not been a word processor that you could buy. The computers had almost no memory. You used cassettes as your primary storage. If you had the money, you bought a floppy disk drive. And they stored 90K of information on them. And I actually wrote a billing program with inventory on a computer with 90K floppies. You needed to use two of them, one to store the inventory and the other to store the invoices. So I was doing this while still in high school as a cocky young kid, walked into a computer store, and basically they had a sign up that said the help wanted. And I was like, I don't know, 15 or something like that.
Like a pioneer.
And I literally said, hire me, I'm great. And in a short time, I actually became their best salesman. They used to place bets on how fast I would liquidate the inventory. If I came in and there were 10 computers, there would be 10 sold computers by the end of that day. So it was a lot of fun. So I've been doing this literally since high school. And high school back then, 1979, they didn't even have computer classes. They eventually created a computer class, which is kind of funny. I didn't take it because the teacher didn't have a computer until he bought mine used. So that would not have been, that would not have gone too well. I kind of knew what I was doing already, and I was selling. I sold again my first software program, still in high school, for a computer with 48K of memory and a 90K floppy disk, and so I've been doing it ever since. I have not held a job since 1983. So I've been doing this as a passion. I often do it just because of the fun of it, and that's the point. If you can do something where you could say the thing you love to do, you can also make money doing it, you never work a day of your life. So I literally enjoy the whole chase more than the result.
So back then, I'm assuming you were self-taught. It was so new.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't have took a class in high school. And then by the time college rolled around, there were some logistical issues that were going on, and I literally had to make a decision one day and decided the day after Thanksgiving, 1983, I was working in a computer store that closed down the day before Thanksgiving. Day after Thanksgiving, a good friend of mine said, why don't you start your own company? And then he did. The Computer Experience was the name of my company, and I called myself that and made almost no money, but loved it. I was doing teaching, and I did some custom software for an old Staten Island business called Wexler's Furniture. I wrote them some software back then. And I was writing software from that point on, and the path has never changed. I've never really found a reason to change that path. I do enjoy what I do, so why not keep doing it? So, yeah, that's what I do. And when the internet came along, I had a lot of fun. So I built some stuff online, too. And so I'm a mixture of, a little entrepreneur and a little bit of a custom, I'll write something for somebody. But I kind of keep that limited to things that I literally have to have fun with, or I don't take the job.
So that can't be understated, right, Brian? When we first kind of had the idea of what we wanted to build, we had talked to quite a few different people in the industry, and you kind of go through, and it's like this robotic, monotone, kind of disinterested, language barrier issues. There's a lot of reasons that it wasn't working for us. And when we sat with you, you were like, the money was not even on the horizon. It was like you wanted to see, one, was the dynamic going to work, right? Did we get along, and was it cool? And two, did you love it?
I loved it. Yeah.
And
I think he was excited for the product that actually delivers change.
Yeah.
Change definitely, I think, motivates Joe for sure.
Oh, yeah. If we can disrupt an entire industry and have
Joe's
fun doing it at the same time, I was all on that. And I built the prototype before we even talked about, let's talk about doing some money. And I was like, I'm having fun with this. Why? I sometimes feel guilty charging for the things I do, because I do enjoy it. I really do enjoy it more than anything. So,
and he actually understood the project too as well.
Yeah.
Most of the people we spoke with didn't understand it. They were brilliant with the coding aspect, but just putting the actual functionality and the coding together was definitely a challenge for sure. And Joe understood that right away.
Yeah, I look, when you're dealing with a lot of industries, the one thing I could tell you is in this industry, you have a lot of introverts. You have a lot of, as James mentioned, language barriers, but it's cultural. There's other things. And people who get into an industry without really having that passion to start with are getting into it for the wrong reasons. So it for me has been, it was an easy fit. I look for fun projects. This, from the beginning, you guys have a lot of passion for not just the product, but the industry itself. And I saw that. When I saw how much you cared about the fact that you couldn't find anything to do this, and then you showed me what it was you're trying to do, my head said, but that's not that hard to do. Mm-hmm. So, yes, maybe there are other people who have a passion but can't say it either. Yep. But there's ears and there's a mouth. You explained what you needed very succinctly, very clearly. So, yes, maybe you said the same thing to some of the other developers and they didn't have ears that understood. So we have a perfect storm of that here. We have a definite need for software like this, and we should, of course, say what the software does. But we have built a piece of software that is web-based, and I'm very excited about it. You guys are excited. We're going to maybe talk about it. It's still in preview, so we're going to maybe talk
in general.
In general,
yeah. But suffice it to say, when this is done, I'm convinced no one is going to have anything like this anytime soon. So I'm even more excited about it.
Yeah. So to kind of get into the how or why of it, right? Brian and I have done a lot of work on deals that didn't have. They were groundbreaking. There weren't comps for it. There were, we had to kind of go out of the box to paint the full picture, right? So Brian has set multiple records for highest sale comps across a wide array of product type, and has really, really, really excelled in the commercial industrial investment area. So as Brian was doing this, he started to see a need for this solution, which we're going to get into in a bit, but it was difficult for Brian to source certain information, and the way to be the best deal maker you can be is to spend a lot less time doing this stuff, right? A lot more time actually working on the deal. For me, it was a completely different issue. It was looking for certain transaction types and not having to go and scour through the MLS constantly, and not have to go through the quote-unquote hot sheets every day and look for data that just because we've done it so much, that we inferred certain things by looking at those hot sheets, but it didn't give us the full picture for what we were looking for.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So as this started to, we started to talk a little bit more about it, we said, what if there was a way that investors and agents and really any buyers and sellers, appraisers,
Anybody,
right, could source deals and data in a format that was not clunky and difficult.
Instant deal identification.
Yeah. So I am a tech dope, right? Like we all know
I
this.
think you used to be, and you came a pretty far way.
Well, I'm working at it because you have to now, and I've thank you, Brian. I have come a long way, but I'm still a tech dope, right? In this room, certainly for sure. So for me, it was super important that the software could not be something that was clunky and difficult and frustrating, and so many times, and not just in real estate, right? We see this everywhere, and I think your Vovio software is in the private sanitation field did this brilliantly. It took an audience that was not tech savvy, that certainly did not have those skill sets, but needed to be able to scale and track and log and identify and forecast and bill, right? It needed to do all these things with people who were completely disconnected from the tech side. And you built it in such a way, it's just flows so beautifully, and it's while it's super wide as far as every time we have a new idea over at this company, and we say, hey, Joe, we got a great idea. We want to be able to do this, this, and this. And you, without fail, every single time so far, you've went, oh, well, mine does that.
Yeah, I did that in the 80s.
I did that in the 80s. I built it in 1992. And
I built it
old.
in 1985.
There you go, right? And he just keeps, it's just in this panel, and I'll just put a button, and it just, you're like, whoa, like, how did you possibly conceive all of these possible scenarios, build them out, and make them so fluid that for us in our industry, real estate agents, the new wave agents are getting much better with technology, but the seasoned vets are not, typically.
Sure.
Right? There's a real disconnect.
There's definitely a gap there.
For me to be able to navigate the system really in a simple way was super, super critical, but still deliver the high-level results that you needed and the metrics you needed to understand behind the deal.
Yes.
Right? So Brian sees trends, right? Actually, like 14 months ago, was it, Pete, or 13 months ago when Brian was on, he predicted, guys, you can go out there and look it up, nailed exactly what was going to happen with M property here in Staten Island to a T. And exactly what you predicted is exactly what has happened.
Yep.
And client after client after client. You just did another deal. The entry was somewhere in the $2 million range, where 13 months later, you just sold it for them for almost $4.5 million. And time again, you've seen those things, but seeing them is your gift.
Sure.
Being able to boil that down, right, and use what's in your head and make Joe have it come out in a fluid way that a dope like me can understand was the mission.
Yeah, that's always been our challenge. I mean, we've been doing groundbreaking projects or groundbreaking sales, and how do you comp something that never existed? And how do you put data down that never existed? I mean, that's the whole crux behind this software is data organization. It's just taking one of those properties that's going to take me 45 minutes to analyze and analyzing it instantly and just organizing the data properly that in the click of a button, it's running all of our scenarios.
Yeah. So the key to all that is it started with, I said to Brian, I said, show me what you're doing in a spreadsheet. Because anytime you're doing something in a spreadsheet or even on paper, there's a formula.
Always.
It's a secret sauce, you might call it. And not everybody has that same depth of knowledge. And maybe, again, that's why you had some trouble dealing with other developers or whatever it was. But if you have something that you could do, cookie cutting, even if it's with a chisel like the Flintstones, and you're banging out the same cookie cutting methodology, that's where automation comes in. And automation sometimes is not as easy for people to spot. You were very clear about what you were doing and what kind of methodology you were using, but getting that data was very difficult.
Yeah,
getting the data in from a traditional MLS system, even if you were to go through all their bells and whistles and their stuff and then export it into a spreadsheet, you'd still have to go in and then update all the numbers.
That's real estate's one of its biggest challenges is data. Well, we have so much data and we're based upon data, but getting that data is the hardest thing, or organizing it. Yeah.
And then that data changes tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah,
so all your
hour
calculations,
by hour, it changes. Yeah,
all your calculations have to start all over again. So, we have to have like dinosaur eyes, where we only see things when they move, when they start to change. So that data is coming in every single day, and that is the root of what we started to build.
Yeah, and I think that helped us out, breaking it down to its simple form,
Yeah.
building that base, and then building off of there. I believe that's a direction you should take with any venture, breaking it down to its simple form. And
you could do it with one, you could do it with many. So what we did was we took one set of data from one specific day from like July or something of last year. We ran a bunch of calculations on it. We kept it going until all the numbers added up to the way you would have done it with a pen.
Yep.
And that was the important thing. Then we had to deal with all the logistics. And this is probably why other people won't get into this on their own, because now we had to deal with the logistics of getting that data and then pushing it through with a second set of data to prove that the calculations weren't, fudgy. And then it's like, all right, now we need to have it automatically update itself every day. And that's what we've done. We've got the data every day about 4 o'clock in the morning. The entire thing comes over. We've got like 12 years worth of history. So comps traditionally are 6 months, but we could dive even deeper.
Yep.
We've got 6 months worth of data. 6 6 months of comps in most of our calculations, but the ability to see 12 years worth. So if you find that weird house in an obscure neighborhood and there's only been one sale within the last 6 months, look a little further.
Yeah, look a little further. Be dynamic.
See the trend with the oldest sale from 12 years ago at the bottom and the newest 6 or 7. There may be a 7 months or 8 months or a year old, but for those kinds of properties, that's what you need.
Yeah, and that's what I love about our system that we built here. It's dynamic. It's ever changing, and it evolves with the new data that's being pushed over every day. Every single day is like Christmas mornings. What deals are out there today? It's incredible. It's looking at a hot sheet, but instead of new properties listed for sale, like what's a bargain today?
Yeah.
What's on discount? What can you build higher on? What's going to make me money today?
So let's think about, folks, if you're an agent or you're an investor, right, and you want to go look for, detached ranches in Eltingville.
Yeah.
Right? And you're someone that likes to do roof raises, okay? And you want to buy that detached ranch in Eltingville at a discount to the market, and You want to understand what the zoning is.
Sure.
Right? You want to know what the floor area ratio is, how much buildable area.
That it has left to remaining, if it doesn't, if it's overbuilt. Yeah.
Right. Not only what is the lot size and the current building size, but with the zoning, how much is left over. And you want to be able to, as an agent, find these things for your buyer, right? You could set up a general save search that doesn't get into anywhere near the detail, right? So now your client ends up getting email after email and property after property that doesn't meet their criteria, right? And it's well intended, but the investor eventually, inevitably, hits the unsubscribe button and you're done,
They're
right?
not seeing things that they want.
And then on the investor side, you're conveying to the agent what you want, and you're conveying it to another agent, and you're conveying it to another agent, and you're out there kind of telling this narrative over and over and over. So imagine being able to customize your dashboard to whatever it is that your deal criteria and metrics look like, right? It was important for us not to say, well, here's how we do it. So we can certainly use that as a template to start, but everybody's going to have different metrics internally. Who's using bank money, who's using hard money, who's using internal funding,
Even construction costs.
Construction
Your
costs.
costs might be higher than my construction costs, and
Right.
you can configure it that way.
So the challenge became, okay, people enter this information, first of all, inconsistently,
Yes.
right?
That's
So
another statement.
Data organization, like we get back, it's just a disaster.
it's a disaster. There is constant errors that are we find in these formulas, and Joe had to problem solve and figure out ways.
Built the red herring button.
That's right. Built the red herring button.
That's it.
For these anomalies. For example, we can have somebody that puts in a listing, and it's a 10,000 square foot lot, and there wasn't data integrity, and they kind of added a zero. That now blows the whole comp set.
Every comp in that area would otherwise have been wrong.
And we also flag, and give the listings integrity. If this condo says 78,000 square feet, the person buying it should know it's not 78,000 square feet. It should be flagged like, before you buy this, here's what the public record says.
Yeah.
It's only 2,000 square feet, so take that into account when buying.
Yeah.
So
that's just something you have to be monitored on a regular basis, and we do that. And then eventually, when this is available to the public, we're going to allow people, if they see something that's throwing it off, hit that button.
Just imagine if you were buying gold, right? You're going to go buy an ounce of gold for, let's say it's $1,800, $2,000, but you pay the $1,800 for the ounce of gold, and you find out that it's only a half ounce, and the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was listed wrong."
Yeah.
But you already made the transaction. There's no refunds. Yeah. So.
Right. So there are so many little neat things here, and I want to touch on as many of them as we can without getting too ahead of ourselves. So, folks, what we're going to do at the end of the show is we're looking for 5 to 10 people to get a peek behind the curtain and work with us in beta to kind of pressure test the system.
It will give you deals.
Oh, without a doubt.
The first day we put this thing
First day, you picked up a deal.
We picked up a deal. The first 10 minutes, we clicked on the deal section, like, it was a perfect house, 60% under market value in a great area. We looked at what the comps would be if it was fixed up, and the numbers were incredible. So it's a valuable tool.
It was handpicked with the deal genie.
Deal
genie.
So Brian had to continue this here because again the audience doesn't have the knowledge of what we have of what we've built. Sure. So I want to finish the picture on that first scenario. So you want to buy ranches, detached ranches in Eltingville for 20% discount to market is the first baseline. You would think that's simple and easy to solve for, but because of all these reasons and the challenges with inaccurate information, it wasn't good enough for us to just say, well, if they made a mistake and it's in the MLS wrong, it's just wrong. We said, no. So we came up with some really neat ways where there's a verified section where we're pulling from multiple different sources, and we are backstopping to ensure the data that was entered is accurate, and you are looking at a deal that is a 20% discount to market, right? So the system will go in any metric that you want. If you you want to look for just detached homes at a 20% discount, or you want to look at things that are listed at market but have more than 1,000 square feet of buildable FAR, or
it'll even show you deals that are listed above market and where the price should be. So it'll definitely give you guidance on where to put an offer in and where the market stands. I mean, this works for people buying their own homes too as well. I mean, everybody goes into buying their own home is not an investment, which is fine. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it says that residential homes are people's biggest liability. But this, if you're looking for a home in, let's say, Tottenville area, and you're looking to get something a little bit below market, it'll definitely identify those deals too as well. Even if you're not a builder, if you're not a flipper or an investor, it makes sense to buy your own primary residence for a discount. Everyone likes to save money.
So that was one of the byproducts, right?
Yes.
As we were going along, the data integrity became so amazing that I don't remember if you looked at me or I looked at you or Joe looked at one point. One of us went, "Wait a minute, this is an appraisal tool now. This is legitimately the way that you
makes the appraiser's life infinitely easier.
Easier.
And you could also trend. Well, that's another topic. You could trend from this data too as well. See the forecast. See the see what's happening in the last year. Did COVID negatively impact this section, or did it positively impact this section? There's a lot of trends and forecasts you could develop from the system too.
So the software is not limited to residential, right? Let's be clear about that.
Our beta is going to be limited to residential, but the software does not. No.
So if you're a builder and you want to find homes, again, necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And that's where a lot of this started. We used to drive around late at night, right, with our pad, and we would go looking for homes that were on a large lot because we didn't have any of the data available to us that we have now. Even now, there are challenges in the way the data is presented. So if you're a developer that's looking for a large lot and you want to be able to build additional homes, the software is taking the lot size. You applied all of the zoning metrics.
So it calculates your air rights. Yes, correct.
Joe overlaid all of the different possible scenarios and iterations and ways that people could possibly enter R31. Believe it or not, folks, we looked at it today. There was 800 and something different ways that people have misentered zoning. And it will calculate for you based on the floor area, the remaining floor area, give you the comps for that price per foot, and tell you, hey, this is a R31 or R3A. You need a 25 or 35 foot wide lot. This is a 7,500 square foot lot.
Sure.
You can get 3 units here. That information is not at your fingertips anywhere.
I mean, let's face it, new construction on raw land in the New York City metro area it just does not exist. And how do you find deals? You don't find comps by looking at land comps. No, I mean most of these new construction projects, you're either adding on or tearing down an existing structure. So that's technically not a land comp. It's either an old colonial comp. So it's breaking it down to the actual numbers that matter, which is price per buildable foot. And if you could see and trend forecast certain neighborhoods, you can see what areas are increasing, decreasing, and you could see by plugging in your own construction numbers too as well. If you're buying this piece at X amount per square foot, this is what it costs now with our raising lumber prices. It's all adjustable. You can make money here, there. It instantly identifies all of this. And it used to take us, 45 minutes for one property. Just started to look up the property now, pull the proper zoning, do the calculation, what your air rights are, your lot widths. This allows us to do this, for every single listing. With one, I don't even know how fast the server was, Joe. It was like milliseconds.
Yeah. You hit a button that says big lots.
Yeah, it's not even seconds.
It automatically is there. And then anything that there's some space over, let's say, 300 square feet, and we could set a threshold. But as soon as there's at least 300 square feet available, it turns yellow.
Yeah.
You look there and you say, oh, here's a 10,000 square foot lot with 6,000 square feet available.
Yeah.
Well, that that you would.
And
That's a needle in a haystack.
And here's your price per buildable foot, and this is how much it's being listed underneath market value based on price per buildable foot. Or you could search for homes based on price per built foot too as well, if you want to comp something, or if you're looking for a fix and flip, et cetera, or roof raise.
So for the thing that Joe kind of opened our eyes to that dynamically changed this was we focused on what you just said. It takes us 45 minutes to an hour after we find something. It then takes us another hour to kind of troubleshoot and find out what it is and does it really pencil out. You got the data that's flying around, and you created it where we didn't even have to look for the deal anymore. Initially, this started out as, okay, how do we solve for figuring out quickly what our calculations are and making this repeatable and scalable? And you were able to take this to the next level, and you don't even have to look. Now you just enter your metrics once, you save. There's different metrics for a roof raise than there is for ground up, than there is for, just straight land, or whatever the different variables are, whatever your investment strategy is. You enter those metrics once. Sure. And the system, like Joe said, at 4 a.m., updates every single day, and it will tell you just when you log in, hey, here it is. This one's 40% discount to market. This one's 28. This one's 16. And all of the information based on your metrics, you're only getting those deals that match your criteria.
Correct.
You're not pouring
and they're
through.
Targeted.
Yes.
Targeted. I mean, if believe it or not, if you go onto Zillow, Trulia, or even Realtor.com, you can't even search by the style of home you want. You can't say, all right, I want a ranch for the older couple who wants less stairs. I want a colonial because you like the older look or that style setup. Or if you need the beach, I want a cape. You can't even search by that on any platform on the internet right now, which is to me absolutely absurd.
I love when I hear stories like that as a developer.
It
I
sounds
say, why
crazy,
aren't they
right?
there? Yeah, what are they waiting
if I'm
for?
an older couple and I want no stairs, I mean, how are you going to search for a property right now?
Yeah.
There's no metric that allows that.
Yeah.
So breaking it down so granular, it, like you said, by attrition, other values and other uses came of this system we created.
As I'm thinking about that, that is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
There's no way.
How many calls have you gotten during your career?
Yeah,
I want
need to
something
be
with
on
no
one
stairs.
floor.
I have to be
of
on
course.
one floor. My knees are getting bad. And how do you search for that? You can't. It's just all visual at that point because you're looking at pictures.
My mind is blown whenever I hear that.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's probably because a lot of people, when they ask for something, I did some business with some offshore software companies, and they'll build you whatever you ask them for, but they're not seeing what it is.
Right.
So you guys are like the architects, and I'm the builder, but I'm also an architect. So I think it seems funny that there haven't been many other people thinking of doing, building a better mousetrap, but I think we've clearly gone down the right path to get there. It's still unknown how far we can and will expand it, but it's going to keep growing.
Well, that's also what we found out too. Is this is definitely going to disrupt deal finding in the industry.
No question.
I mean, I guarantee if this system is implemented in certain areas or neighborhoods or cities, it's going to change the comps. It's going to spur activity from investors investing in that area without a doubt. If you can identify all deals in a certain section, I mean, there's going to be a flood of investment there very quickly.
There's no question about it. The what we thought we knew, we came to find that the data doesn't lie. And certain things that we looked at, and at first blush, we'd be like, that's not a good deal. Yeah. And then you dive into it and you go, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like, it's exactly what it said. It was a 38.2% discount to market. And guys, we're not, we haven't built something here where it just gives kind of these general metrics and that's it. There's a button you click and it spits out all of the comps, all of the pictures, all of the data, everything you would need to, if you wanted to make a further, revision or edit. Well, you know what? I'm not sure this one quite applies. Maybe I could take this one out. We're sharing with you the full set of data so you understand precisely how we arrived at what we arrived at. And by going back historically past 6 months, another neat tool, when I forgot the format, but when you put it in the format where I was able to see all of them listed out.
They change color once they're beyond 6 months, so they're at least there.
Sure.
Because maybe they are part of that factor.
It allowed you to forecast.
Yeah.
You
You
started to
could
see a trend, right?
Especially if you go back to the bottom where it's 12 years ago.
Yes.
And you see, wow, there was $200 a square foot, then it went to $250, then it went to $270. And then you can see maybe a break point when the markets may have dropped. And again, just because it's got depth, I think when you look at a traditional MLS system, you usually can't go past a certain number of months.
Or we could forecast or trend a ranch in Great Kills, let's say.
Yeah.
That granular. It's not just
it keeps
the
growing
Great
at
Kills
the
real
same
estate
speed,
market.
what will
it's
it be?
this style home in which would tell you, right? You have more of a younger crowd moving into this neighborhood, or an older crowd who's looking for this product. So, for example, what we're finding now too as well with ranches, people are willing to pay a higher price per square foot for a ranch because of the ease of stairs and the flexibility the space offers to certain couples. So it's certain style homes, if you're a builder too as well, it will forecast and tell you what the market is paying for.
So the housing typology, it gets that far into the weeds, and like you said, it will help you identify that a comp is not just a comp. A Tudor or a ranch or whatever different style, a colonial, they all are not created equally, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
And there's different trends within each market, and just the way the data is presented, it gives you the unbelievable ability to see back and forward without spending the maddening time to pour through the hot sheets every day and try and find out if you hit on something or if you didn't. It presents it for you. Now, the next step is you click a button and you can submit an offer.
The best way to explain what we're doing here is I wrote something in about 2007 or 8 for people who are day traders. Now, a day trader, I was in a giant room full of day traders, and they literally just are spread out like a giant classroom, and they get all pumped up, and they watch CNBC, they watch different news feeds, and they're then trying to decide, all right, what horse am I going to ride for the next X amount of time? And the low-level day traders are just looking at whatever's coming through the news feed to see what's there. But there's a lot of white noise because there's a lot of stuff happening. So there's been a lot of talk about black boxes in stock markets and how they're affecting the markets. And a black box, it looks for a whole bunch of metrics, and it says, I'm going to buy this stock when this trigger is hit. And I created something a little different. I created a gray box. And that's what we've done here. A gray box means that instead of it making a transaction, because you're not committed to buying any of these houses, a gray box just simply says, here's an enormous amount of data, literally changing every few minutes, as you're saying. And every day we get a fresh batch of it. And instead of you having to reanalyze everything through there, it's saying, here are some possible decisions you might want to make. And it's just there for you. So it's like a little black box, but it's not buying the houses. You still get to make the decisions. Sure. You still get to
search how you want to search.
Yes, and you do your due diligence off of that. But at least instead of you looking at a pool of 500 or 5 whatever, you're looking at just the choice selections, and then you narrow it down from there. And so if you, instead of having to look through just randomly, I mean, for pretty much you'd almost have to do that. And just say, you know what's in this price range, and that's where your starting point is. So here's a better way to go. Here are the ones where the price per square foot is significantly lower than the rest. And then you can still get out your other computations. Yeah. And what we're hoping to do is improve those computations so that, let's say you do level 1, and again, it's like your gray box. It's taking this giant funnel, like in a sales lead, of possible things. It narrows it down to, let's say, 10 that you really want to seriously look at. And then over time, you're going to find something that you like to do with those last 10. And then where the real magic happens is we then try to refine that even more. So that maybe once we get through that part of the funnel, what is your other criteria that would also be what you want to do there? And when you have a perfect storm of price per square foot, at a good ratio, and extra space where you can build on a piece of land because it's got space. Now you're hitting 3 marks. Boom, you got to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, if a builder comes to me and say, "Hey, Brian, I want to do some roof raises. And in the click of a button, I could send him 200 listings with 1,500 square feet available left to build.
Or more, yeah.
I mean, how valuable is that?
Sure. Sure.
Like just
In the click of a button.
I want to go over that
Sure.
again. Like,
Here
'cause
you
what you
are.
just said is so ridiculously powerful.
Yes.
Right? A builder wants to build roof raises, and they want to have the ability to add 1,000 square feet.
Yep. 500 for an extra sun, or whatever.
Or
Whatever
maybe
the
he
number
wants-
is.
metric
maybe he
you
needs
want.
to be able to build 3 whole units.
Any metric you want.
You have a tiny house on a 15,000 square foot lot with 10,000 available, and they've only built on 2,000
Sure.
of it. There you go. It's not just making a bigger house; it's making several houses.
Sure.
For the agents out there, think about how powerful that is.
Sure.
Being able to send to your buyers in real time, the moment that it's hitting, the exact criteria that they want.
You'll get a text message right to your phone. This, whatever your criteria said, it was just listed. When every single agent sees that listing, that investor, the buyer, or the agent will be able to see it too as well in real time.
And you know what's funny about that is proof of concept.
Speed. That's the name of the game, speed. I mean, especially in this market, what's going on here in New York and New Jersey. If you're not quick enough, you're not getting the deal.
Yeah.
You're not.
This underscores what happened to us in that early stage. As I mentioned before, what we originally did was we took a capture of data from one specific week in July, and we just kept using that to refine our formulas and our methodology. And then what was becoming apparent to us at that point was when we would go in and test it, we would then, sometimes click through to the actual MLS site, and like maybe a third of them were gone by a week or so later.
Proof of concept right there.
Which we knew that there were other
Proof of
people
concept,
that saw the value in it just as much as we did. So knowing the fact that, if you do let some of those deals sit for more than a week or two, they're gone. And that's exactly what happened. And we had to actually escalate how quickly we brought in new data because, that was it's proof of concept writ large.
And guys, I would definitely sign up to beta test this because there's deals out there. I mean,
oh God,
you'll see instantly where the deals are, and you're going to be scratching your head like, wow, I don't have to be a real estate pro, or even if you are a real estate pro, it's just going to save you time.
Yeah,
it's just going to save you time, make things easy, and I can't urge you guys enough to test this thing out. We're excited to select a few people to do that.
Yeah. And even for someone who's not necessarily looking for a huge discount, just even looking for a certain type of property, I think we're still doing that better than than someone doing it on their own by hand.
We're verifying the data. We're giving it to you in the format that you specifically the format that you're requesting, and we're doing it in a way that is so simple.
Sure.
So folks, when you're logging into this. For example, I go into my dashboard, and it goes from biggest discount to the least discount. That's how we have it set up. And you see each listing, and on the bottom in highlight, it says minus 48.2%. That's the discount of the list price. Minus 22.1%, minus 8.6%. Right on up to some of them, of course, as you know, are plus 10%, plus 20%, plus 30%.
Yeah.
And it smacks you in the face. It's like, whoa, okay, is this really? You click on the button, it then gives you the full comp set, how we arrived at those numbers, verifying the data. Next button, buy it.
And this is
Submit an offer.
This is not giving you a Zillow's estimate either.
That's what we wanted to. Wasn't sure if I was going to say it, but I'm glad you did.
No,
that's what we wanted to get away from.
Is evil. I mean, I've had so many people. Oh, my house is worth $2 million, or this house is worth $5 million. I'm like, unfortunately, Zillow's comp set. They're
awful.
Their data points and algorithms are god awful. They're not granular at all, and they're misleading, quite honestly. And I feel bad for some people because some people's homes are actually underlisted, and some people's homes are actually way inflated and overcomped.
This is data deal verified.
Yes,
values.
Just targeted. Precise.
So, as we started to go down this rabbit hole, like a whole bunch of other little neat things started to fall out, right?
You get sidetracked. Right? You could do this now. We could do this now. You see it all unraveling.
So we've got a bunch of other automations that should make paperwork and make other things without getting too in the weeds, right? That should make the paperwork and the process a heck of a lot easier for agents and for investors. Again, the goal was accuracy, precision, speed. Get the deal makers making deals, get the investors making investments, and let technology do the rest.
Yep.
Because we do have all
Let's
those
use it.
tools.
We have it. Let's use it.
Yeah.
And we're still lagging behind most other industries as far as technology, and I mean, because we're all data, and data organizes technology. So
Yeah, the real estate market, the real estate industry, rather, without a doubt, has been lagging. There is a lot of great stuff out there, but a lot of it's clunky, and it just, you can tell that it was built by a programmer without having
back to that
the
barrier,
industry in mind, and that's the difference. Having Joe with that amazing smile and unbelievable enthusiasm.
It's teamwork. It is teamwork. Because as I said, you guys are truly the architects. I, again, bring my level of...
you're definitely an architect as well.
I'm an architect too. That's what I'm saying, though. If you only have an architect... Like, think of it if you're building a real house and you're an architect and you hand it off to a builder who literally follows nothing but what's written there, you end up with a house where if the guy building it doesn't really have a head for the way things should be built, he'll build it the way the architect did. If you have an architect as a builder, now you're it's like where 1 + 1 become 3. Yep. So we expand on each other, and I think that's why we work so well as a team. I try to take what you have thought out, and it's extremely well thought out, and then some. We want to do something more than that, because again, it's like, and I've seen this with other pieces of software and other things where you tell somebody, you ever see the movie Spinal Tap?
No, a long time ago.
Well, there's a scene in there where they're sketching out on a napkin that they want to build Stonehenge on the stage. So they hand the diagram to this guy, and he says, "Here you go. This is what I want you to do. Build me this." And then the guy built exactly what he wanted to, but it was 12 inches tall. Because he built exactly, but that's what you wrote. This is exactly what you told us to build. So if you don't look at it as an additional architect should look at it, I could have built exactly the way you asked for it, and if we don't expand on it, then we're kind of built into a corner. So I'm looking forward to where this is going. And as I said from the very beginning, I only really take on projects if they're fun, and I'm only just getting started.
Hey, you said that day one, before we even discussed it. You said that day one, which I gave you credit for.
Got to be fun, or I'm not doing it. Yeah. And I see the passion in what you have both wanted to bring to this project, and it's contagious. And I hope that some of my spirit goes along both directions, because that's how this thing will keep growing. We'll just keep making this thing do things we never even anticipated on day one.
It's already happening.
Yeah, we've already, when we brought on the zoning thing a few weeks ago, that was a major thing. And then seeing how, wow, there's so many of them that actually have this space there, and finding them on your own would have been, just random. Now it's right there.
You have to have extensive real estate knowledge and time, or you couldn't do it. Now anybody without that knowledge and can do it and instantly.
Yeah, and so we're bringing in things like public records, and we're finding that sometimes an agent puts in their data wrong, and at least they have the ability to look at the public records.
Sure.
And in some cases, we're finding out that the agent is just carbon copying whatever he saw in the public records, and in that case, they did the best they could because the public records were wrong. And when that happens, we just simply mark it as a red herring. Still look it over, still consider it, but it won't be part of the formula. So if we have a formula that says, here are 16 properties that were sold with an average of this price, if that 17th property is, as we saw on literally day one of our prototype, we saw something that was was it a co-op? I think it was. It was a co-op, and they used the square footage of the entire 12-story thing.
Yes,
which then dragged down immensely all other 16 averages.
Yep.
Our little red herring button drops that out of the equation.
It will give you a confidence score, and which will definitely negate what every buyer fears is buyer's remorse. So I mean, if you're going into this deal with a certain level of confidence, you feel comfortable that all the data is matching up, all the public records are matching up, you can go into the deal prepared and not have that, oh man, what did I just do? This is the biggest financial purchase I've ever made in my lifetime, and now I got to deal with this, or it's not what I thought it was.
Well, Brian, part of the problem is that in the industry, sometimes when you ask for a CMA or you ask for comps, you're only getting what you're being allowed to see.
Correct.
We're going to be candid, right? And that's a tough thing to accept. So this gives you transparency into everything.
Yeah, the way we have it set up now is the 6-month industry standard. If you see this house in Great Kills, this ranch, and you want to see the comps within the last 6 months that are a direct comp, you click a button, they're there. You'll see everything that is sold in your area.
There's no selective
if you're
omitting.
Listing your house, it's going to tell you. Obviously, comps are subjective because it's a free market. So, your opinion on this house, you'll pay $700. I might only pay $650. But we're going to give you a pretty real number on where to buy it or where to sell it to as well. So, I mean, depending on the lens you want to look through this software with, there's so many different uses for end users.
And I've put a couple of new things in that we're still dabbling with to change the lens of the comp. And I think one of the things that's going to be in our next iteration, we talked about the possibility and probability that certain types of comps are just not the traditional ones. Like if there's an apartment, it's going to follow a different set of rules than a semi and a what was the other one? We had a semi.
Fully attached apartments. Yes, there's townhomes. There's garden apartments. There's condos. There's many.
So there's no reason to use the same formula for those comps, but it still needs to have its own little nuances in there. So, and that's probably why those estimates are as messed up as they are. They're probably just saying, all right, a 2-family in New Springville, and that's maybe all they're doing. They're not looking deep enough.
Another thing to blow your mind: there's no other searchable system or software that allows you to search like condo styles or like bigger buildings. Like in New York City metro area, we have countless apartments, condos, etc., and everything is jumbled up and labeled into one big thing in every single search system that there is out there. If you are a New York City metro investor or flipper, this is going to break down even condos, apartments, high rises, garden apartments, views,
what floor that you're on. All of those things don't get calculated for in the Zestimate.
Yes. Everyone forgets about condos and metro areas, about their investments too. If you want to search for a deal in Miami that you're going to rent out or flip it or whatever, or even live in it, it's going to tell you if it's a deal or not.
So we're at a point where we've got enough humming that we want to bring in some outside eyes and pressure test it and tweak it up and get it ready, because we do want to come to market on this hopefully by the end of the year. So anyone out there who's interested in jumping on board and giving it a shot, why don't we go around the table here, Joe? If anyone, and beyond this, of course, if anyone needs a programmer or a custom, really not a programmer, a custom software solutions guy, he is your man.
It's got to be fun.
And it's got to be fun. Amen. How do people get a hold of you, Joe?
You could use Joe at Vovio, VOVIO.com. Joe at Vovio.com.
All right. Brian, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, Brian at CassandraProperties.com. It's BRIAN, and Cassandra with 1 S, as you can see in the sign up there.
And for me, folks, same thing. James at Cassandra. You guys have all my information out there. Check out the website or drop us a note on any one of our profiles. You can reach out to any one of us, and we'll try and fold you into the program. And you're going to get the benefit day one of having deals.
Yeah, it's going to show you deals as soon as you log on.
As soon as you log on, you're going to see the deals, and you can start to go from there. So, is there anything else we wanted to hit?
We should just mention that in our first beta, it's Staten Island only.
Yes.
Staten Island only, correct.
So we did mention, Miami and so forth. Our vision is to eventually bring in other MLS data. The formulas are probably going to be very similar, but they'll also be
will change.
Potentially.
We're dynamic.
Yes, they will potentially change for certain parts of it, but we're going to start off by it's residential in Staten Island, and eventually we're going to add all the other different types. We're going to do
Commercial
land
properties, yep.
commercial, and the formulas may
Manufacturing,
change.
land, yep.
Yeah, the formulas will change.
They will change, yes.
But the platform will give you that starting point. And
Correct.
for now, we will be testing that one group.
Well, you built this in a scalable way where the API feeds, there are certain metrics that are being fed in across all of the systems. Doesn't matter if it's an MLS in Ohio or if it's an MLS in Los Angeles or here in Staten Island. There are certain metrics that are consistently fed and are relevant that we knew we needed. So we built this in a way where we can plug in other MLSs as we scale this. And of course, the investors will change their individual calculations, but we'll update the zoning for those relevant districts and so on.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But outside of that, we're ready to roll.
Yeah,
So
we're going to be creating essentially the equivalent of a white glove service, because we know that even using easy-to-use software for someone who's kind of tech shy, if you just tell us, hey, this is what I'm looking for, we can literally take whatever formula you may have. You say, look, I only want houses in this area, and this area, but only this style and this type, one family, two family, etc. We can make that a button so that you don't even have to deal with how do I configure it to just do that and remember, I forgot to check this one or that one. No, we can literally one button and it takes you just to that one feature.
this is super exciting, guys.
Yeah.
I'm really, really, really happy to be on this journey with you guys. It's been a lot of fun. And I in my heart of hearts, I know that we're doing something that's going to disrupt the industry.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And having fun along the way.
Absolutely. Well, as always, folks, we appreciate your time. Check us out. You know the drill. All the platforms, all the good stuff. I hope everybody out there is going to enjoy the summer, do a little traveling, maybe get out and stretch our legs a bit. It's been a tough run. Everyone out there, please stay safe.